All right, everyone, welcome to the Myokinetic Podcast. Today we have a special guest, a really good friend of mine, the one person that I'm truly grateful for and really put me in the map of New Jersey high school football. And, he's a legend within himself, within the state, and a veteran in the NFL. So welcome to the show, Kareem Huggins.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, man.
Of course.
Yeah.
I know Kareem for the past 5 years, and, the first time ever that we met was through a mutual friend, James Hill.
3 years ago.
And he connected me with you so that way I can help you with your football camp.
Yeah.
And because of that opportunity, I was able to meet, Coach Smoke at Irvington. And then from there, I was able to just really volunteer my time with the team and then meet so many great kids, help so many athletes, stay healthy on the field, and then all go from there. I wouldn't be where I am, honestly, man, without that camp. So I just want to say how much I appreciate you just giving me that shot, connecting me with, your people, really, because I think, if I didn't put the effort there, I don't think I'll be where I am right now. So for those who haven't heard of Kareem, that's why I wanted him to be on the podcast, just to share his story and his knowledge. He's just so passionate about the sport, but really he's just a really good, genuine human being, and I just love having you around, man. So can you just share to the listener a little bit about you, your story, where you come from, and all of that?
Well, again, thank you for having me, man. The moment we met, it was just such a blessing, because you said you wanted to come out and help, and anybody that wants to help the community and help, just the kids where I'm from, is such a valuable thing, and not everybody's giving as yourself. So I know you said it was your first time getting your business started, getting your career started, but it was just more about you wanting to help, and you didn't just come out there and just help a little bit. You were fully invested, and so my brother, who's the head coach at Irvington High School, man, he's just a blessing in the community, and so it's only right to give back, and so you wanted to give back, so that's just why I thought it was a blessing just to kind of share, and even now share the connections that I have with you, because I need help myself, and so it's important. But just to share some of who I am. My name is Kareem Huggins. I'm nothing without my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. That's first and foremost. I played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for 2 years. I tore my ACL, MCL, meniscus against the Saints. My dad had cancer. I moved back up. And after that, just ended up working hard, taking care of my family, helping everyone out. And I ended up signing with the Jets. And so now I'm currently a free agent. Just been working really hard. I played in the FXFL. In the meantime, while I'm preparing, I've been married for 5 years, so that's a blessing. Also, I go and help Irvington High School. My brother's the head coach of the team, like I said, and I help the running backs out. So it's a blessing just to go there and give back and help those kids in that community and give to that community as they've poured into me. Young men around that in that environment that were older than me poured into me. So it's just such a pleasure to go there and just share the knowledge that the Lord has given me and watch them go and practice what you're teaching and pour it into them, and they get into the game, they have success. It's so I say all the time, like, I don't really like coaching, I love helping. So whether it's helping the young man deal with family, helping the young man deal with being a better athlete, helping the young man deal with managing all the things that are coming his way, navigating through those things is what I find is a blessing, because I needed that same thing, and I need it right now. I'm a young man. I've been married for 5 years, and so it's a blessing that I have men around me to help me navigate through life by God's grace.
And life is hard as it is, right? And you need to just kind of surround yourself with good people who can always just share value, or just hearing. Sometimes people just need to be heard.
Yes.
Right. Yesterday I have a friend just called me. I was like, all right, man. You want advice? You want me to hear you? I was like, dude, can you just hear me out? Yeah. Great. I'll be there for you.
Right.
And also on the other side, like, you need a good group of people to help you celebrate yourself as well. And also be there as a companion to just slow you down and sometime, right? Because you can get too ahead of yourself and all of that. And what I love, man, just watching you with all the kids that you're helping out, is that you have such positive influence on them. In so many different ways, right? I think it's all started with helping out with football knowledge. And then from there, it just transfer into life knowledge, because you can always find parallels through football, through sport, and then you just connect it to life. Even lifting. Like, for me, working out is what really like I can push more because I know what it's like to push myself physically. So
Yeah.
mentally, that's a lot easier. So let's talk about your upbringing a little bit, because I think most of the kids you're working with, they probably know who you are, but I don't think they know about your journey. I know it's been a grind. We talked about it
Right.
before, so let's share about those hardship, because it's the hardship that's really gonna shed light on your success right now and who you are as a person.
Yeah. Well, I would say that football is just like the catalyst to get them there. And, so that when I have this camp, it's just a catalyst to get them there. And I have a number of young men around me that will teach them some football things, but really pour into them skill, how to be better men. And so, it's, again, football, we want them to be successful, but it's just catalyst. But just a little bit where I came from. I grew up in Irvington. Just wasn't the biggest kid on a football team, and a lot of times, people say, well, he's too small, he's not the fastest, he's not the biggest, but I would always know that you can't measure what's in my heart. And so a lot of times, a lot of people counted me out. I was counted out, I would say, a lot of times. And but I just believe that what God put on the inside of me was bigger than what anybody can tell me. So if I was going against a kid that was big on the field, in my mind, I'll knock him out. Like that was just my mentality. And I would say, growing up, my dad would call me Bear. And so in my mind, he made me think I was bigger than what I was. So anybody that stepped on the field, in my mind, I'm bigger than him, And it wasn't necessarily about size. It was just about my heart. You can't stop me. And so just being counted out, I used a lot of that as like fuel in a sense, because, when somebody tells you can't do it, where I'm from, it's like, I don't care what you say. I'm gonna prove you wrong. And so it's just a lot of hardships. My parents were going through it back and forth, and just some abuse verbally and physically. My parents would get into these arguments, and I would watch physical abuse from my dad and my mom. And so a lot of time I spent working really hard to get my mom out of the situation. Like I would run hills, I would lift weights, I would just try to do what I can to kind of take my mom out of the situation. So, at some point I was interested in gangs and doing the wrong thing, but it was just like, how can I bring my mother more hurt by doing the wrong thing rather than, all right, I got to start lifting weights. Football was an avenue for me to get my family out of the situation. And so I just took that, and I had a number of people around me that were blessing me. I went to school at Bailey Eller in Madison, New Jersey. Such a blessing to go to that school. At first, I didn't see it as a blessing, because in the beginning, it was a predominantly, Caucasian school. I was the only black kid there. There was a couple other kids though, but at that age, kids will make you feel like, you're by yourself. They will ostracize you in a sense. And some kids were great. And I just had a couple teachers that were there that would pour into me. I had one teacher, she just passed away recently, Mrs. Rassiopi. She loved me right from the beginning. She didn't care if I played football. She didn't care about where I came from. Every day she would just be like, Reem is such a good kid. I wish all my other students would be like Reem. And I'm like, this lady's crazy, because I was hearing so many negative things at home. So many, you won't be nothing, or you come from this area, you do come from that area, and you won't make it. But every time I came to school, she was like, you know what? I wish I had 100 Reams in my class. And so she's one of the people that would just keep pouring into me every day. And to the point where I started believing what she was saying. And then I had another coach, Coach Moore. I think he's a principal at Mount Olive High School. And so my first year at Bailey Eller High School, we lost all our varsity games, all of them.
Jeez.
The second year, we lost all but one. And so at that moment, my feelings would just get so hurt, because like, this is my opportunity to get to the NFL. I need to help my mom.
Yeah.
My coach at the time, we had a couple coaches get fired, one quit. And my coach Moore, he was the basketball coach, but decided to help. After every game, I would just have tears in my eyes. While other kids, they didn't care.
Yeah.
They go into a nice home and a nice place. I might be going home where it might not be much food in my house, or it was food, but it might not be nobody home. And so I would tell my family I would tell the kids when I stayed at my dad's house. Sometimes we would order Pizza Hut all the time. The number to Union Pizza Hut is 908-688-2020. No shout outs. I knew that by heart. Like, we order pizza all the time. But Coach Moore, it was like one game, he'd just be like, you know what? He called me Weez. He said, you know what, Weez? He said, I told him, like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, we keep losing, and I'm putting it all into it. He said, man, you got something inside you. It's called intestinal fortitude. I'm like, what? He's like, it's intestinal fortitude. It's the ability to keep pushing and working no matter what you think, believing it's going to be a different outcome. And as a kid, I'm like, man, whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I want to win.
Yeah.
But when I began to understand what he was saying at this age, it was like he was pouring into me. It's like, yo, keep working. And so that next year we went to the playoffs. My senior year, we went to the state championship, and it was just like I kept working. I was kept working. And so a lot of times, a lot of adversity, a lot of people doubting me. I went to college, and then we had a couple other running backs ahead, and I didn't care. I wanted to play. And so I ended up working hard, studying my playbook while everybody else was focused, partying. I didn't drink, I didn't smoke. And I ended up playing as a freshman. Went to Tampa. It was 6 backs ahead of me. I went as a tryout guy. And, you know, a lot of times people will say, well, you're not going to make it. They pay that guy. The rookie that year was a Pro Bowler. They had a number of guys there. But in my head, it's just like, I don't care who you are. I'm me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just that I've been counting out so much, and so the odds just really pushed me to work and believe that God put this inside me and you can't stop it. So adversity at the moment was it was like fuel, you know. The hardships like fuel. Watching my mom go through it was like fuel. And so her thing was to be a good athlete but a great man. And so she really kind of pushed me to do the right thing morally. And I had, like I said, a number of men around me or people around me that were influential, that poured into me. So it's only right to do it to these kids.
Yeah.
It's only right.
And
you know?
So many good points on that story, man. And just to touch back, to be a good athlete but a great man, and I love it because if you look at as a foundation, if we look into like a pyramid, right, the bottom of anything has got to be a great man. Yeah. Right? And then if you're a great man, you can be a good athlete. If you can be a good athlete, you can be an excellent something else, right? Yeah. But it's all under the same foundation. If you don't have that foundation of a good person, a genuine person, someone who's like able to influence people around them, then you're not going to go that far. Absolutely. And I think just going back to your work ethic and your hard work, I'm sure that has such a contagion effect around your teammates during that time. Just to go from not winning games to making to playoffs, I mean, that's got to go through something. Yeah. And most people, especially with the time now, kids would say, all right, I need to transfer to another school. Yeah. Right? For you, there weren't any other options. Sometimes the best option is the one that you have. Yeah. And if you stick with that, it's the best thing. Absolutely. And just to see it through. So let's talk throughout that whole process, man, because again, we have so many parallels. Like just like you, when I moved to this country, I had one ESL teacher that was so nice to me, and like her name is Miss Duplan. So you remember these people that pour into you, and then like it was my first class. I didn't know any English at all, and then she just spent so much time with me, and you know, like I probably tested out of ESL within 2 years, which is almost unheard of, right? But it just needs like one person that believe in you to just like, oh wow, maybe I could do that. And you know, like the whole idea behind Myokinetics here is just like to be that voice for our patient. Like, no, you could do this. This is not going to change anything. It would delay the course a little bit, right? But you know, just going back, like, you know, just God put things in front of you for you to overcome, and there's a reason for that. You just don't know. It's bigger than you. Absolutely.
I think the big thing about you guys is that you guys genuinely care. And I think when someone cares for you, I don't think other people realize how motivating that is. You can really use a person to do what, you know, they want to, but you want them to do if you care about them. And I think my mom would say just a number of different little slogans, and I'm sure you heard it, but she would say like people want to know that you care before they care what you know. And a lot of times as athletes, we think that, you know, we love the people that encourage us on the field, but the people that are off the field is the ones that really pour into us, that we really care about. Because what we do on the field, that's a blessing. That's what God has given us. But off the field, that doesn't mean we're the best in every other area of our life. So you guys just pouring into each person, it's encouraging. You're getting them to think that they believe that they can do more than where they are right now. And so just being in that place at the time of the challenge of going from winning however many games in the 2 years to going to the playoffs, we had a school that transferred some guys in, which really helped, from Patterson. That helped a great deal. But also I had to understand that if I score a lot of touchdowns and we lose, we still lose. And I had to go from being very focused on me being great and really selfish in a sense to how do I get them better? How do I get my whole team better? Because if I'm good and we lose, that's the same thing. I'm not getting myself anywhere. You know what I mean? So like I had to understand like I got to get my team better and they have to care. And so of course having Smoke there, my brother having Smoke there, having a couple other guys like I said that transferred in, they didn't want to lose. And to some people, they don't understand that football is an opportunity that can take you other places. Like I've been all over the place. I had a game in London. I've been all, you know what I'm saying? So I think at that moment I had to figure out how do I get everyone else around me better, because they may not care as much as I do, but I have to make them care. Or I have to push them to be a better person. It's a lot as a kid, but when you don't like losing, you'll figure it out. I don't like losing, and so it's either lose and have my family stay in this place the best that I know how as a young man. I know it's not my responsibility to take care of my family, but I want to be a blessing. And so it's either take the challenge and digress and just, man, say that's it, or it's either push further, push harder. And so I think when I think about it, I can't even go into it because I get almost emotions. Like I got to keep going. I got to keep fighting, because if I don't, it's people dependent on me. It's bigger than me. I'm the only boy. I got 4 sisters. And so if I don't carry myself as a man of God, if I don't carry myself in a certain way, then who they going to look to? I mean, they got fathers, but like they love me. I'm the brother. And so I try to make sure that my character is good and that I keep pressing forward so that it will be infectious in a sense. And so my wife's watching, so I got to keep pressing toward the goal, toward the mark. And as a husband, you'll understand that the person closest to you knows who you really are. And so I thank God, I'm sure if my wife would see it, she'd probably say Reem is very routine and disciplined. And you have to be that way when you want to be great. And you have to be that way when you have a company, and you have to put the work in continuously when nobody's watching. When y'all are in here and I'm out there, it's like, man, there's nobody out here, but somebody's watching. Or I have to prepare for who's going to be watching in a sense. So definitely a challenge in that place of high school to press forward rather than run and go to the next biggest school. My mother was like, man, you're not going back to Irvington. You're not going to Irvington. And you're not transferring to Union. You're going to stay here and you're going to figure it out. And so that was no option.
Yeah.
So.
And let's just go back. You just mentioned this, and I think a lot of young men are going through this right now, which is they're at a crossroad where they're either going to go to sport or they're going to choose life in the street. And and sometime when I get kids in here and they're injured, right? And I know what's going through their head.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, no, like we got to make sure we see it through with these kids, because the other option is not a good option at all, right? So like, how do we get them back on the right track? So for you, obviously, I think you mentioned that like, all right, if I choose this other life of being in a gang, being in the street, it's going to bring more hurt to my mom. Now, was it always like that, or do you have to fight through certain things to realize like, oh man, that is not going to be a helpful situation for anything? I think it would solve a lot of short-term problems, right? That's why people are so drawn to it, right? When you feel ostracized, you need a place of belonging. Oh wait, there's a gang, people just like me going to the same thing. Absolutely. Oh, we're all collected together. It's like it's a brotherhood kind of thing. Yeah. And then and I can make quick money. Yeah. I can help I can solve the today problem right now. Yeah. The route you take is like I can't solve today's problem, but I can solve 5 years problem. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. With the action I'm doing. Exactly. So how do you weigh out the long-term pain with the long-term gain versus solving the short-term pain?
Well, I would say, again, the biggest thing for me is that I had, I feel like God put certain people in my life at the right time. So I had a friend of mine who was like my big brother in a sense, and he was into the life, like that lifestyle. And it's like I wanted to be. I was my friends, and I think a lot of people, gangs are definitely a bad thing, but really, if you are a group of friends, all of us in the room, we call ourselves mild kinetics. Something like we're brothers at this point. And so that's what it became. And I think I would say my big brother at the time, or like a cousin or whatever, while he was doing the wrong thing, he would always say, "Yo, Reem, go home." I'm just like, man, I'm not going home. I'm about to go with you, with y'all. He said, Reem, go home. He would say, I'm gonna beat you up, or I'm gonna go to your mother. And I'm like, man, don't go to my mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not scared of you. Just don't go to my mom's, because I felt like that'd cause her more heartache, more pain, besides of what she was facing. You know, and so that was what I held valuable. Making my mom proud, and making my mom proud off the field, because I know she'd be proud of me on the field. I'm her son. If I didn't score 5 touchdowns in the game, she still would be excited for what I did. But if I made her proud off the field, there was some point where I was, me and a friend of mine, we would get in trouble all the time in school, and she was coming in for suspension. Me and her mom and my mom were coming in for suspension, and afterwards I just saw how it was hurting her, and it's just like, this don't even make sense. And so at some point, my friend's mom will come to school, and my mom will be coming. My friend's mom will be coming for suspension. My mom will be coming for honor roll, and so I had to make a decision whether to go that way or go not. And it's easy when you get hurt. It's hard. When I tore my ACL, man, I'm 201. I'm 190. I was 197 probably at the time. I weighed 170. I just got depressed. I laid on my couch, played Call of Duty all day, all day. Like, I was nice, but I believe the desire, and God showed me a vision of me running. It just me being, accomplishing, getting out of this place. It kept me going forward. So I would say to a young man at who's faced with a challenging moment, when you go through this thing, you'll come out stronger. Like, my knee, after I tore my ACL against the Saints, my knee's better now. Like, I'm stronger now, and I'm better now. So when you go through this adversity, you can be sure that you're going to come out better when you commit yourself, when you press through, when you go through adversity. And so a lot of times we don't want to go through anything. But in order for Tom Brady to be great, he has to get picked sixth round, not be counted out, to get that fire. That my friend of mine, he calls it being chippy. My brother, he calls it being chippy. He has to go through that bit of adversity. He has to get sat down and have Drew Henson come in and as a senior in college for him to get that, I'm going to prove you guys wrong. He has to get that bit of people. If he don't go through that, he may not be Tom Brady. And so you have to go through that bit of adversity to be pushed. And I think if I might not have gone through that adversity, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Yeah.
By God's grace. Absolutely not.
No, I can 100% agree with that. With all the hardship that I've been through personally, I'm like, man, I think the best moment is when I sit down in the couch with my wife and we're like, man, like, do you remember when we used to do that? I was like, the best is always, how do we even get through that?
Right.
Because it seemed so foreign, and like at this point that we are now is like, it's a blessing where we are.
Yeah.
But we work to get to where we are. But during that time, we would just go. It was no option. Like, for me, I applied to one PT school, I got in, and I just had to make that work. Right. And just just another thing to add on, just a personal story, like just talking about, your mom coming in for your suspension. Like, when I first moved here in 8th grade, right, I was hanging with a bunch of kids, wrong type of kids, because I just didn't have any friend. We ended up just like going to Target, and then everyone's really shoplifting, right? Okay. So I'm like, oh shit, all right, I'll do it. So like I was like shoplifting Yu-Gi-Oh cards, because that was like a big thing back then. Cards, and like I'm trying to walk out Target, and someone just grabbed my jacket. And I just got busted, dude. Yeah. And they took me in the back. They called the cops. My mom's working like 2 jobs in a restaurant. She can't come and pick me up. I'm like, I was so scared, dude.
Wow.
I was like crying. I was like, it was the most disappointing thing I ever did for myself and for my parents.
Yeah.
Like, here they are in a new country trying to make it work. Here I am being an asshole. It's like, like that's the only way I can describe it. And then this. And then from that point on, I'm just like, wow, all right. The guy let me off and everything. Yeah. And from there, I'm just like, I got to really change this life. Because I saw, like, as soon as I got caught, everyone else left.
Yeah, it wasn't nobody else but you.
Yep. So I'm like, all right, that was a good lesson. And then from there, my 2 biggest fear, and I tell people all the time, is going to jail and then snakes. So like watching snake on a plane is literally my the biggest fear could happen. Yeah. Con Air with snake on the planes. That's it.
Trust me, I can't stay in the bathroom too long because there's no windows. It's jail. I don't want any parts of that, man. But again, like you said, when you doing these things, it may be a lot of friends around you, but once you get in trouble, it's nobody but just you. And so the I mean, the idea, it has to be something in you to say, man, I want to make my parents proud. Like this, what am I doing? And I definitely had a moment where my friends and I, we were throwing apples at buses and doing stupid stuff. And a guy and his wife caught me, like, and I'm one of the fast kids, but he came around the block and grabbed me up, put me in a car. And I was just so embarrassed. Like, what am I doing? Like, why did I just do that?
Yeah.
And so you definitely get those moments where you're like, man, I gotta figure it out. And hopefully you get the moments sooner than you do later, because when you're a young man, I tell kids, your margin for error is so smaller when you're a junior, you're a senior. When you're in 8th grade, you can make some mistakes. He may let you off, but when you doing stuff and you are 18 years old, you getting booked.
Yeah.
So that's it.
Yeah, and your peers and the people that you surround yourself with, that's a huge influence.
Huge. I think my group of friends is we're pretty close knit, and we kind of keep each other accountable. And I think that's really a blessing. And just this place that I am in now, like I gave my life to Christ in September 5th, 2008, and just have a brother of men that are around me, that are husbands, that are businessmen, that are fathers, that help keep me accountable. It's like, man, I lean on them. Like you said, you had your friend call you. Sometimes I got to call them, like, listen, I need help in here. I need you to, what do I do here? Teach me how to be a better husband. Like, and so it's a blessing to have that positive group of friends around you. Because when you're by yourself, you're liable to kind of do things to which you think is right. And so that's how kids get in trouble.
Yeah, and you become your own echo chamber, right? Because you can only make decisions based on what you know at hand.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything any better, you're just gonna keep making the same mistake over and over again.
Right.
And having the attitude, I think the biggest thing with men, right, is asking for help.
Yeah.
I think it's like there's always some sort of stigma of like asking for help, like wanting to be heard, right? Because it's not a manly thing to do.
Right.
You can't complain.
Right.
You just have to go and you gotta do that. But like now, like I still hang out with my buddy from high school. We'll work out together, and then sometimes like we'll just kind of like talk it through.
Yeah.
I think that's the best part, right?
Absolutely.
Talking it through is
Absolutely.
different than complaining.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I would say, I mean, talking it through and venting, you got to have that friend that knows when what you're doing. Like, all right, he's just venting right now, and he just needs to talk it through. And so I appreciate having that. And honestly, like you said, men, I think I'm better now, and I'm getting better. Like, I don't have a problem saying I need help. But a lot of times, like, I'm training it here and I'm working out, and my shoulder, my body's sore, and I won't say anything to my wife. I'll just come, because it's like, I don't feel like complaining. Let's just get it done. Just nobody cares. And so I grew up with my dad. He's just like, he didn't allow me to make excuses. I promise. I caught a kickoff, and I was playing the kids I was playing against. They were the big team. This was my first year on like the big team in Pop Warner. Caught a kick, was running, and this kid smacked me. Like, he big hit, like ooh hit, and my chin strap hit my throat. My dad was the coach. I ran to the sideline, and I'm like, yo, Dad. He's like, look the other way. Like he didn't care. He didn't give me no excuses. Like, I just walk it off. I'm just like, man, no, like this is different. Like, I need your help. But my dad couldn't stand excuses. And so at this point, I try not to make any excuses. And if I got to vent and let some stuff off, that's what I have to do sometimes. And I'm glad my friend group understands that, And so, but now you definitely need somebody to talk to and share with, and it just makes you feel so much better.
Yeah.
And
it's huge, man. So let's switch gear. I know obviously you work with Joe DeFranco. You mentioned how great he was with you and everything. And let's talk about how, as athletes, right, looking to play the next level, how important is it to really invest into your body, and put in the time for, strength conditioning, off-season work, and all of that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a competitive person, less than 1% makes it to the NFL. So my mindset as a young kid, it was silly, but my mindset was in high school was, if these coaches, I feel like at the time, they love a lot of kids from Florida. So like, okay, I got to work harder than the kid from Florida. There's another person somewhere, my twin, if I had a twin, with my size, with my build, with my ability. If he's not if he's alcohol free, or if he's not working hard as me, like I'm gonna gonna outplay him. I'm out. You know, if I in my mind I have to do all the things. I have to eat right, sleep right, hydrate. I have to manage my time properly because I want to be the best. And being the best takes discipline. And I think a lot of people want to be great, but they don't want discipline. And I think a lot of people will rely on talent, and don't understand you got to be disciplined. And so I think in my mind is just having that bit of adversity, people saying, well, you're not big enough, you won't make it, you come from this school and that school. It was like, I got a lot of talent, but I'm going to work harder because I want to be that much better. And so I think to get to the next level, it takes discipline, it takes routine, and it takes a level of, I would say me, I in my mind, I can always get better. Like I'm not okay with being okay. Like I'm not okay with being okay. Like, Reem, you good? Nah, I'm not okay. I gotta get better. Like, you know, and I say no excuses. Like one game I scored 5 touchdowns, and afterwards my dad like, well, Reem, you did this wrong, that wrong, that. I'm like, man, I scored 5 touchdowns. I scored 10 touchdowns in 2 different games, 5 one game and 5 another. And he told me what I did wrong. So it was just like, man, you know what? I have to continue to not be satisfied with just being where I am. I have to keep pressing. And so I think for any athlete, you gotta be hungry. And so a kid he can not be the fastest, he can not be the strongest, but if he's hungry, that's the kid. If he's hungry and he's smart, that's the kid that I'm looking at that may go further than that kid. And so I think to play on this level, you gotta be disciplined. You have to have a hunger about you. You have to have a drive that's just out of this world that people can see when they're not looking at you, when people are looking at you, or when people are not looking at you, they can see your drive. And so I think as a kid, you could, as a human or an adult man, you could tell what kid has a drive or not. And you got to have something that drives you. And me, it's just like, I'm not stopping until I be all that God called me to be. I'm not stopping.
Yeah,
I'm hungry. You know, so
I love the fact that you're doing that thing. There's a twin version of you somewhere. But I mean, you're just comparing yourself to yourself, really, right? And I think where kids get discouraged is when they start comparing themselves to other people. Right? There's only one person you compare yourself to is yourself from yesterday. Right? Are you getting better each day? I think that's a huge thing. Now, obviously, being hungry, wanting to do better is huge. But I always feel like there's got to be a moment of clarity and satisfaction, right? You got to have a moment where you pat yourself in the back of some sort. So how do you balance that out where you acknowledge the work that you put in was a good return, but yet you still have work to do?
That's a tough question. I think for me, like, again, when you're good, someone else will tell you. So like, people's telling me that I'm good, it's like, oh man, I appreciate it. Because me, like, how I look at it, I'm very critical, and because I want to be great and I'm not stopping. And so it's a challenge to really sit back and be like, you know what, I am okay, you know. But again, I appreciate yourself just taking the time and say, man, Reem, like, good job, like. And it's just like, oh, you know what, I'm grateful, you know what I'm saying, because the Lord has allowed me to have some success. But I think I'm just so focused that it's like, all right, yeah, that's good, but I don't want to settle. And I think for me, you got to know what drives you, and you have to know what makes you settle. And so complacency sometimes will make you settle. And sometimes my coach would say one of the toughest things you can give some kid sometimes is a compliment, because it'll go to his head and he'll relax. And so I try to keep that edge because I don't want to relax. I don't want to relax, and I don't want any fear to settle in. Fear meaning I'm going after that thing. It seems big, and if I look at what I've done, I'll be like, you know what, I'm good. I don't have to go. That's too hard. And so I just kind of keep this edge about me. But I thank God for, you know, playing in the NFL for a couple years, and doing well in college and doing well in high school. You know, rushing for a number of touchdowns. I thank God for being a blessing, but I believe there's so much more in store for my life, so much more on the NFL field. And so I do have to find that, but I appreciate my wife who just be like, you know, Reem, I see you working hard. You know, like I want to be a great husband, so I give this, I take her out, go. And so sometimes my wife be like, you know what, no, baby, I appreciate you. And that little thing right there is like, you know what, because I didn't realize I didn't know how to be a husband. I didn't grow up in a married household. So how do I know? And so when my wife says, I appreciate you, that's my bit of like, you know what? I thank God, because now I had a vision to be somewhere, and I have a vision to be somewhere, and someone is recognizing that I'm taking the steps toward that place, and so that makes me feel good. And so, like I said, this here, it's like, you know what? I'm grateful because I'm in there working hard, and sometimes I'm by myself. But when Natty say, Reem, I see you working hard. Like, I appreciate that, you know. So I think people help me realize and take a time out to say, you know what? Well, you know, I thank God for allowing me to be successful, but I'm hungry, and so I got to go after more.
Yeah, I think you can find like a moment, right, where you're just like, hey, I did this well, this and this, but as long as you have a moving goal, right, that's always for me. Like, let's say like business wise, right, I have certain idea like where I want to be, this and that, and it's not that I'm never satisfied. I'm satisfied by hitting my smaller goals, but the long term goal is a goalpost. It's always moving, right? It's always, there's always a first down somewhere for me, right? Which is moving the stick then and there. But when we do get a first down, I'm like, all right, great, we got one.
Exactly.
That's good.
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, well, let's keep going.
Exactly.
Right? And for me, it's always the small win for me is an opportunity to go farther.
Yeah.
Right? And and I'm trying to get to the point where I don't drive myself crazy that I need to do this. Like, at this point, I think you and I on a spiritual level, like, the things that we do is not what we need. Yeah. It's what we want to do. It's what we were called to do. Yeah. We have a bigger mission for it. And it's our purpose, right? I think us as human beings, as men especially, we need a big purpose to get through life. Because again, like when we start this podcast, life is not easy. Yeah. But when you have a really strong sense of purpose, you can push through a lot.
Exactly.
And you know, it's like the way I see it is like, you know, we're on a ship and you're constantly sailing through a storm. Yeah. Right. You need a compass. You need some good days to celebrate. If you don't have bad days, you don't know what good days is. Right. So for me, to have that moment to acknowledge your accomplishment, but also know that you have work to do, I think that's a healthy relationship.
It's a healthy relationship. I would agree. And so I, when I think about it, you know, you said to me before, like, you know, Reem helped you, you know, with, and I, you know, building as far as getting the clients, and I'm just like, man, Natty did come to my camp with just a table, and to see what by God's grace, what you've created, it's like, wow, this is a blessing. Like, this. When I walked in here, I was like, wow, this is nice, you know, but I forgot the fact that when we met, you were just kind of building it up, you know, and it was just like, man, I appreciate seeing what was manifested, you know, and so I appreciate seeing the hard work that you've gone through, you know, you've allowed, and the success you've had. And so it's really cool to be in here and see where you came from, you know, and it's just like, I think you do need that bit of balance. And I would say, like, the Bible says that godliness with contentment is great gain. So you're content with what the Lord has given you. But I always think to myself, like, I don't want to be complacent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be settled here. I want to keep going forward. But I'm grateful. You know, so I am grateful. I'm just hungry. Like you said, it's always going forward, you know?
I think there's a huge difference about being content and being complacent, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Being complacent, to me, it's just like, yeah, I'm just good here. Being content is like, man, like, I am grateful to be here. I have all these things going on. There's some bad stuff, some good stuff going on at the same time, but I am just truly grateful to be in this moment. Yeah. Right. Exactly. And to me, that's content. Like, I usually go, like, you know, my wife always say, like, oh, how's your day? I was like, my day's great. Yeah. She's like, oh, it's a long day. How was it? I was like, it's great. It's meaningful. Yeah. It's fulfilling. I get to help people. I get to talk to people. Yeah. You know, and I never go back, and I can't say I have bad days, right? Yeah. Even with some unfortunate circumstances, those are not exactly bad days, because there's always a lesson I can draw from, right? And for me, I always put myself as a learner of life, right? I'm a student of life, and I'm trying to absorb as much as I can. And when I look at it from that angle, I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm like, well, that's another lesson. Yeah. Guess I'm learning about this today. Yeah. You know, it's like, it's one of those things where you wake up in the morning, you're like, oh, let's see what's on the lesson plan today.
Yeah. I think that right there definitely takes a level of maturity, because I could just genuinely say, like, you know, you go through stuff and it's like, man, it's tough. Like, I this guy from my church, he was like, he's an elder, he's an older gentleman, and he was just like, you know, I said to him, like, man, sometimes it seems like I'm just be going through stuff. And he's like, you know what, Kareem? Good. Like, what? He said, because if you didn't go through stuff, you wouldn't grow. And so I'm grateful for the things I've gone through, but sometimes it can get tough. And so you do need that moment to take back and sit back and be like, you know what? Let's just figure out what I'm going to learn out of this. So I'm maturing every day to get to that place where I'm like, you know what? All right, Lord, you got to figure it out. It's already worked out. I'm learning something through this, and I'm going to come out better. And so you know it when it comes. You know that concept when it comes to weight training. You know that when you put weight on, you grow. Yeah. On the bar, you grow. But when it comes to life, it's kind of the same concept. When you go through stuff, you grow. But I don't think us as humans want to go through anything, personally. But no, that your theory, that's a blessing to be there. And I continue want to grow every day to that place where it's like, all right, well, what I'm going to learn today, you know, but.
And it's the same thing as in the weight room, man, because you have times where you're peaking, you're hitting PRs. Yeah. And then you have time where you're like, oh my God, I feel beat up, and you have to digress. Right. Like, and when you start digressing, that's when you start making even a better return, right? Every injury you have, you come back stronger. Yeah. With your ACL, and we talk about this all the time. It's like, oh, it's going to change the way you squat, to change the way you run, change everything. Because I tell kids every time they come in when have an ACL injury, I was like, hey, this is probably the first time in your life we actually get a true break. Yeah. Where you get to actually learn about yourself. Yeah. Learn what you're made of, and actually fix all these other mechanics that you didn't know you need to fixing. Right. So it's what you did that got you to where you are. Absolutely. And where you want to go forward is what you're doing today. Absolutely. So it's like, to me, and that's why I'm so passionate about that, just because it's the best way. It's giving me an opportunity, almost like 10 months, to work with someone to help young individual really come out of their shell and learn more about themselves. Yeah. I've never really focused on the sport when it comes to ACL. I always focus on the individual. Like, hey, do you have any hobbies? Like, do you want to learn to do anything? What was something that you missed out on that you want to go back and do? And I think having that is huge. Yeah, absolutely. You have that year to reflect, right? Yeah.
I think you guys do a great job with the people you have here. Just like each individual therapist, they do a job of really getting to know who you are first. Mm-hmm. Like Nick, I'm working with Nick, and just Nick knows where I want to be. Nick knows, how I am, and he's learned me. And then I work out with Danny, and Danny's like the scientist where he knows this, contorts that, and then you get Matt, where Matt is just like, all right, Reem, what's your goal? I was like, all right, Matt, I want to be here. He's like, let's push it. And it's just like, he just through conversation and learning who I am, he knows that I got a goal and Reem wants to push. I see where you are, Reem. I see what you're going through. Let's push. And so you definitely, when you learn the person, and when you genuinely care for the person, you'll get so much more out of the body. Mm-hmm. When you learn who the person is, that person will push for you. And so I think you guys do a great job. And it's pretty much you putting, yourself onto these people that are in your field. And so I think it's just such a blessing to, like you said, have the patient or the kid, these young men, take a step back and really let's just kind of reflect. And what do you want to learn in this whole process? How you want to get better? Mm-hmm. And I think as young men, we just going 100 miles an hour. Like, we're going 100 miles an hour. We're not even thinking about how to get, the hips stronger, how to get, our back stronger, and how to get our foot. We're not thinking about that. We're thinking about, I need to get this ACL right, and that's it. Mm-hmm. But you guys do a great job dealing with the whole person, in a sense, which is a tremendous thing, And so I definitely appreciate that.
No, man, I appreciate it, and I'm super grateful with the team that we have, right? Because every single one that are in here I can easily say that they genuinely care about the person that they're working with, right? And I think the reason why we have such good success with outcomes with our patients, because we just care. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I look for when I add anyone on. Even when it comes to our front desk staff, even talk about Evian, talk about Nick. Yeah. All these guys, they're creating content, but at the end of the day, they care about that person they're creating content for. Because the thing is never just the thing. Yeah. A phone call is not just a phone call. A picture is not just a picture. Relationships. Everything has a purpose, has a deeper meaning before that. And I agree. For me, if I can set that tone by just doing that, then every one of my team member will have a sense of contentment at the end of the day.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
No one's like, Nick and Evian over here is not going to come in and just be like, oh, I just took tons of pictures today.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And like, what's the purpose behind that? Right.
Yeah.
And, even anyone up at the front, I was like, hey, your job is to put a smile on someone's face
Right.
on the phone.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you're
Right.
just making their day.
I agree.
And to me, people don't call us because they want to come to PT. They hate coming to PT.
Right,
There's
right.
so many other places they can
Right.
be.
Yeah.
You know?
They're gonna put you in uncomfortable positions, which you know what I mean? So I agree. Nobody's coming to PT like I'm ready to go to PT.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? Like, but if you make this whole experience, if you make it an experience, I think people, you definitely get a lot more out of it. And that's what you guys have done, made an experience, coming here and getting better. And so it's definitely cool to be here. It's definitely cool just kind of, like I said, everybody learning who I am, and you get so much more out of the clients when you guys are doing what you do, and you make it an atmosphere that people want, like a family atmosphere. Like I went to DeFranco's, and DeFranco's is a gym where we lift weights, and lifting weights don't always feel good, but that atmosphere was family. Like, we were all friends, we were all family, and so we cared about one another. We cared about success, we cared about our home, our families that we've gone through, family structure at home, and so the gym just grew because we cared about one another. And so that's what you guys are doing right now. Relationships are so important, and I think we're so, sometimes in this world, we're so consumed with our own self that we forget to care about other people. And so when you care about other people, you'll get a lot further, I believe, when you give.
100%.
Yeah.
I think if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, you go with other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's a good way to end it, man. I
Yeah.
mean, I appreciate your time. I think it's been such a great conversation.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot. We went different levels, super
Yeah.
high levels, super superficial, and I think all the young listeners that listen to this, even parents, coaches, can really find something out of it. And Reem, I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate everything you just drop on us, and I think it's great to have you on. I
Amen.
appreciate it.
To God be the glory. I thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And just our conversation. We probably haven't got together like this in a while, but I definitely appreciate it. It was a blessing to be here, and I thank you for having me.
Great. We'll do it again.
Definitely, Lord willing.
Thank you.
All right, bro.